NLP, and immediately I said Neuro-Linguistic Programming. I've heard of that a little bit. I go
Mm-hmm.
way back to, say, the Art Bell days of the 90s. I don't know if you remember that guy, Art Bell, Coast to Coast AM. He had some people
No.
on there talking about NLP, but I'd rather hear it from you. What's up with that? What is it for people that don't know?
Yeah. So neuro-linguistic programming, in simplistic form, is so you kind of break it down. So you have neuro, your neurology, linguistic, and then programming. So as a neuro-linguistic programmer, you're taught that in order to communicate with your neurology, and program it, there's a specific type of language to use to speak to your subconscious, essentially is what it is. And so the art of neurolinguistic programming, or the practice of it rather, is understanding the communication methods and models to use to program or reprogram. So like a very common one a lot of people know of is, quit smoking, quit bad habits, stop biting your nails, or overeating, stuff like that. And so neurolinguistic programming is used to kind of reframe, replace, reprogram, so that way you don't have to have those things anymore.
Very cool. And something struck me, just an idea right now as you were describing it, is that there may be a similarity with what I do in terms of communicating with the subconscious in sleep. And what my method, or what I believe is required for accurate interpretation, is an understanding of someone's personal experience of certain things. Does it? And then my thought was, it might work the same way with NLP, and I'm just throwing this out there, is that the communication style or the specific words used will vary from person to person?
No, not generally. It's more of a specific way that the subconscious is accessible, essentially. And a lot of it is through visualizations, metaphors, different things like that. So that's probably where the dream area kind of overlaps also.
Gotcha. Fair enough. No, I'm happy to be wrong if it elicits an interesting answer. So that was my thought, is that, yeah, it might, but there is a tremendous amount of, I guess, in a way it's an abuse of the term, but Carl Jung's concept of the collective unconscious. Some people, there's a lot of different ways to understand it, but there's basically things that are common to human experience, just by virtue of being a human alive in the world. And so there is a lot of common symbology and understanding of different things that we can base it on. And so that's probably what you're speaking to when you're trying to help someone communicate with their own subconscious and give it instructions about how to function in the background.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good way to describe it.
Thank you. This is me thinking out loud, trying to understand something. And there's another tremendous overlap in our two practices, so to speak. Hypnotism has a long history in terms of the growing, the development, the evolution of the theory about dreams. And there's the older terminology. So I'm doing a lot of reproductions of historical dream literature, like I said in the beginning there, and I'm running across all these old terms and old conceptions. And really, there was an explosion of about 100-year period, like late 1800s to early 1950s-ish in there. And they were trying to understand, what is trance? What is being hypnotized? They used to call it animal magnetism back in the day. A very interesting phrase. But it got conflated with the like magnets, but also the new invention of electricity, and how are we going to be able to use that? And then they're like, we can shock the brain and make changes because we're bioelectric chemical creatures. But yeah, there's another, and being in say some somnambulistic state. People related that to what happens with people who are hypnotized. They perform behaviors perhaps stage magic style, that they're unaware of because their consciousness has been put to sleep, but they're still acting in the world. And I think even now we still have only a rough grasp of how all these things kind of seem to blend and flow together, and we're trying to use all this language to tease it apart and say, well, does that describe this part of it? Is it really the same thing, or is it something different?
Yeah.
I feel like I've been rambling, but so
No, yeah, you're I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, and there's the one of the things we find is like, the stage hypnosis. That's where the popularity really of hypnotism has come in the stage hypnosis. And in stage hypnosis is really only anywhere between 5 to 10% of the audience that really can be hypnotized. In clinical hypnosis, it's a much higher percentage that way, and it is about getting someone into trance or assisting them to enter that trance state. But it's funny because when you're writing a script for a client, for hypnotism, for whatever it is, a lot of the descriptions through the guided self-hypnosis are communicated very much like a dream state. And in a way that someone uses their imagination, but there are no limits to the imagination. You turn around, you're in one place. When you turn around, you're in another place, or you're stairs in the sky or whatever, because the symbology to the subconscious is so that's how the subconscious understands everything, because there are no limits to the subconscious. And so so it's kind of really cool how the overlap happens.